Hey everybody, Mike Naso from podweather.com and IPR365.com here with an update on Hurricane Ike. And Ike is really the only game in town. September 10th typically is the peak of hurricane season. That's tomorrow, of course. And we certainly have a powerful hurricane to prove it. We've had Hurricane Ike. It started way out in the central eastern Atlantic and moved up and then moved southward, rattled over the Bahamas, came over Cuba, and is now leaving western Cuba, strengthening as a Category 1 hurricane, but don't let that fool you. This is well on its way to becoming a major hurricane once again. You can see it as a small hurricane. All those winds are close to the center, but it's expected to become a larger hurricane over the Gulf. Here's the latest as of 11 p.m. on Hurricane Ike, and it was at 23.2 north, 84.3 west. Winds were up just a bit to 80 miles per hour, gusting to 95. It's moving west-northwest at 9, so not very quickly. Another hurricane that didn't move very fast headed towards Texas was Hurricane Carla of 1961. 967 millibars. That pressure is still very low to have 80 mile per hour winds. It's all a matter of when those winds catch back up to that pressure. We'll likely have a Cat 2 hurricane. The track here is pretty straightforward. Throughout Wednesday, it should move generally west-northwest, maybe a little bump to the northwest, become a Category 2 hurricane. By Thursday morning, become a Category 3 major hurricane. And then by Friday evening, Saturday morning, be bearing down on the Texas coastline as a major hurricane. Now, just how strong it is unknown. It could hopefully be a weak Category 3, maybe even a Category 2 like we saw Gustav. At the same time, it could become an extremely dangerous Category 4 hurricane before landfall, and the cone of uncertainty is very large. It could head further to the west and end up in northern Mexico. It could head more northerly and end up in the area of, say, Cameron Parish, Louisiana. Right now, the writing appears to be on the wall that the Texas coastline will be impacted, and everybody from Cameron, Louisiana, all the way down to Matamoros, Mexico, should be overlooking their hurricane plans. This includes the entire Texas coast, Brownsville, Corpus Christi, Matagorda Bay, Galveston. Everybody needs to take Ike very seriously. Here's the latest wind field on the system, and you can see it's still a small hurricane. Those hurricane force winds are very, very close to the center right there, and the tropical storm force winds extend out a pretty good deal, and they're close to the Keys. The Keys have been buffeted by tropical storm force all day, and we still have those watches and warnings out for them. Here's the latest infrared satellite imagery, and look at how that hurricane comes right back once leaving western Cuba. Reminds me a lot of Hurricane Dennis 3 years ago. Dennis left Cuba and came right back. Dennis was also a pretty small hurricane. Right in there is the well-defined eye, and it is strengthening more, but again, not moving very fast at all. If we look at the Key West radar, we still have the eye of Hurricane Ike on Key West radar, and by the way, in Collier County there you can see Collier County, Florida, there is still a tornado warning out for the east central portion of that due to a band from Hurricane Ike. And again, if we put the smoothing on this here, you can see the eye even better showing up right there. A tiny little inner core. It never lost that inner core. So once it starts strengthening a bit, maybe mixes out any dry air that may be in it, it will be able to quickly intensify to a 100-mile-an-hour hurricane and then a major hurricane even after that. Now here's the latest model guidance in good agreement. Very, very good agreement. It's going to bump a little to the northwest and then back to the west-northwest and then gradually start to curve more northward after landfall. The whole question is, does it do it real soon like the Canadian and come up here towards Port Arthur, Texas, Orange, Texas, or does it take the UK Met and have a little bit further south and then bend more gradually, or does it go like the no gaps and just continue generally west-northwest into landfall? I will tell you that hurricanes that are tending to move westerly can maintain themselves or even strengthen better. Texas, you've seen this a lot. You saw it in 1886 when Indianola, Texas was devastated by the strongest Category 4 hurricane to not be a Cat 5 to hit the U.S., and that made landfall in Indianola with 155 mile per hour winds. You saw it with Hurricane Carla as Carla moved west-northwest 145 into Port Lavaca. You saw it in 2003 with Hurricane Claudette as it moved west, and just this past July with Hurricane Dolly quickly spinning to 100 miles an hour into South Padre. When they're moving northward like Gustav and Katrina, they tend to lose some of their punch. The whole question will be, how strong is this hurricane? Is it weakening, or is it holding its own, or is it even strengthening? Either way, all the water it builds up over the Gulf of Mexico will come surging ashore between 10 and potentially 20 to 25 feet, depending on just how powerful Ike gets over the Gulf. You can see the GFDL in just 2 days, 48 hours from now, takes it to a Category 4 hurricane over the Gulf, and then takes it inland and by about 84 hours as a powerful Category 3 hurricane just near the Corpus Christi area. Very bad news on the GFDL. The HWRF model in 90 hours has it making landfall as a 918 millibar hurricane. This would be a Category 4 or 5. Has it weakening just at the end from a Category 5 to a 4. Try and realize the type of storm surge that would push up. Remember Katrina? Katrina was Cat 5 offshore, strong 3 coming onshore, but that water had nowhere to go. So the impact of the surge from Hurricane Katrina was that of a Category 5 hurricane. If this becomes a 5, and even if it weakens, you could still have a Cat 4 or 5 surge. Very bad. The no gaps, as I mentioned, has it coming in right near the border, Matamoros, Brownsville area of Texas. Brownsville, you need to keep an eye on it, but again, there does appear like there may be some kind of west-northwest component as it's making landfall. The upper level environment is very favorable and is going to remain favorable for at least 2 or 3 days. By the time it approaches the Texas coast, there's some indication there might be some northerly shear, but the models do show that it should still have a good western outflow and eastern outflow, so everything should be good to at least maintain itself. But again, we've seen many hurricanes weaken, so the bottom line here is probably looking at minimal a Category 3 hurricane, which is very devastating. Maximum, you could have a hurricane like Carla, Category 4, if this thing really cranks up. Again, there's another look at it entering the Gulf of Mexico. Very, very ominous comma shape here. Tight little eye. You saw it on the radar there out of Key West. A tight little eye right in there. 80 miles per hour, very innocent Cat 1, slow-moving, small. Is going to be a monster hurricane for Texas because it is forecast to make landfall with at least Category 3 intensity. Again, the overall Atlantic, we do have this tropical wave in here, and there is some indication by some of the models that this wave out here and maybe this mess in here, we might get a system approaching the Bahamas in a few days that would develop here and kind of be a weak system. You'll have to watch it because a lot of times the outflow of systems like Ike will leave behind an area that we need to watch. And so we're going to watch this. It is the peak of the hurricane season. But again, all eyes are on Hurricane Ike, which is poised to be a dangerous hurricane for the Texas coastline. Anybody from western Louisiana to northern Mexico, and that includes all of the Texas coast, should be getting their plan of action in place on what to do in case Hurricane Ike makes it their way. Ike is already a killer, killed over 70 people in Cuba and in Haiti. I take it this is probably the last time we'll ever see this name on the list. So Hurricane Ike will be one for the history books, but we still have to see what it's going to do for the Gulf Coast. I'm Mike Naso from podweather.com. Stay tuned to IPR365.com. We've got live streaming coverage we're all going to be on. We've got the virtual studio. Go to IPR365.com to get that information and listen in for the latest on Hurricane Ike.